right. Before we talk about the AEW Rampage event, can you explain to me, Brian, how you have a buy-in for a free show, and what's more, why the buy-in show on YouTube should affect the numbers on television?
I can understand why you want to put something to run against WWE, considering they're doing that to you for the next half hour. That part makes sense. I can understand the idea of a buy-in or a pay-per-view preview show for a pay-per-view event taking place either on that same channel or feed where you can order it, or something that's not, I have to go watch the TV or something that's a click away. Calling it the buy-in and doing a loaded show into the free television show was definitely an interesting move. I wouldn't have done it maybe the way they've done it, but again, we're right now at a period of time where WWE is passive-aggressively treating this war with AEW like it's nothing going on, and AEW is starting to respond. Whether it makes sense or not, AEW is responding.
They wanted to do a rating on television that would compete with SmackDown on a lesser channel than normal, so they've got a shot at it. So they put Bryan Danielson on YouTube and put the Bunny on the TV show.
Now, you're not wrong about that at all. And I wasn't as crazy about the Danielson-Suzuki match as a lot of other people seem to be, and we'll talk about that in a moment.
Well, yeah. Somebody was crazy about it?
But clearly, it would have been a better fit for a star Bryan Danielson's power to be on that show instead of in front of 100,000 people watching on YouTube.
Well, and the thing, and now a lot of people are going to say,
and that was the number. When I was there was 100,000 was, I think, the top number.
I was going to make mention of that. Some people are going to say, well, it's had 500,000 views as of the time that we're recording this. Yeah, but not all against SmackDown. They watched it later, which nullified the point of the whole thing. So, Bryan Danielson's wrestling Minoru Suzuki on YouTube. As soon as we finish with SmackDown and Rampage, then we'll go back and watch that. Because it can be seen anytime. If they'd have put it on Rampage, hey, we better watch Rampage because Bryan Danielson's on there. We won't be able to see that show wherever else we see it for fucking however many days. Blah, blah, blah. Let's talk about who went crazy for that match.
I saw some people on social media say that they thought it was a great match, specifically saying, I hope you guys review this match because it was so great. And I was biting my tongue, figuring I should just wait until we record to talk about my thoughts about the match.
Okay, well, I tried. Because I like Bryan Danielson. I respect Minoru Suzuki as a mixed martial arts legend. But as we've mentioned in the past, unless you know of his background, then you look at him like a small, unimpressive, elderly Japanese fellow. And if you know of his background and have the respect for him, then that helps you look over the fact that he's 50-something years old and his shit looks like shit. But still, you can't tell me that anything about this was good. I saw the same thing over and over. Standing there, hitting each other with forearms that don't look particularly good and probably hurt. And not just doing the 1-2, 1-2 like a Rocky movie, like Jerry Lawler and Dutch Mantell in the Memphis Mid-South Coliseum, whanging each other with the punches and the blood flying and the rubber legs and the body language. Standing there in the middle of the ring calmly, I'll grab the back of your head. You know it's coming. You're not trying to duck. I'll hit you with a flipper forearm. Now you do the same to me. Now we'll have funny facial expressions and dare each other to do it again. Here in a minute, we'll do the same thing with kicks. Then we'll wrestle around for a little bit in simulated wrestling combat that everybody can see through because nobody wants to hurt Suzuki because he's a legend and a badass. And so everybody's going to be ginger with him. And he ain't going to hurt anybody else because he's 50-something and he don't want to hurt anybody. So and then they stand up and they start trading forearms again on purpose. watching each other do it, daring each other to do it at a snail's pace. And I would fast forward 2-3 minutes and they'd be doing the same thing. And I'd go again and they'd be doing the same thing. And I'd be going again and they'd do the same thing. It's the same thing over and over with Suzuki and anybody that wants to work with Suzuki or anybody who wants to work like Suzuki. They've all got their fucking minds in Japan and they can't fucking get out. It was like Brian Hildebrand said to me one time, he was over at the Smoky Mountain Flophouse one time with Casey O'Connor, Chris Jericho, the Infernos, whoever else was there at the time. And he came back and he said, they won't stop watching Japanese wrestling. No wonder they can't get it. Because that's what they would do. They would, on their off time, they were watching Japanese tapes. And that's why finally Lance, I don't know whether Chris ever got it or not, or admitted that he got it, but Lance finally said, we finally started learning to have the match the people wanted and not the match that we wanted, which didn't have anything to do in Knoxville, Tennessee with Japanese wrestling. Now these guys are such marks for this bullshit, strong style, Japanese, whatever the fuck, that they're going to do this. They're either playing Japanese wrestling when they're doing it amongst themselves, or they're getting a chubby over Japanese wrestling when they're getting to do it with a Japanese guy. But the point is, this is ridiculous. It looks phony. It's not exciting. And they're not going to increase their audience by having their biggest mainstream name star now, Bryan Danielson, except for CM Punk, going 15 minutes in a phony-looking match with a 50-something-year-old Japanese guy that nobody besides their core audience is even going to recognize in a police lineup. Your thoughts?
I've been a fan of Suzuki in the past, and I certainly respect who he is, not just in MMA, but even in professional wrestling. You know, he's been doing stuff with New Japan pretty regularly now for several years. And I like Danielson traditionally, although I'm seeing a lot more of this from him. Just, I've been ranting about how much I hate guys trading spots in the middle of the ring, especially the match has been happening for 20 minutes and now we're going to slow things down and trade spots.
Yeah, now we're going to bring everything to a screeching halt, kill all the momentum, and stand there and do more phony shit that nobody would actually do.
I'm not crazy about that. This match was nothing but that. And I understand there are fans that are into it. There are fans that get into the moment. There are fans that, you know, that Samoa Joe Kenta Kobashi match. It's technically not a great match. It's just chops nonstop.
But they were still at least hitting each other harder.
They were hitting each other hard, and the room was into it.
And these guys were.
And the room was into it. And maybe someone will tell me the room was really into this, but I thought this was really bad, and it seemed endless.
No, you could see the room was really into it. But that's the problem is everybody that's into it is in that room. You're not going to... The WWE is presenting lackluster matches with guys that aren't over, and so now's the time for somebody to do something, and instead they're making their top stars do phony-looking, bad-looking bullshit because their base audience is going to like anything, and they like that kind of stuff, but show the average wrestling fan that, and they're like, well, what are these two stupid idiots just standing there punching each other for? Not even punching, forearming on purpose, waiting for it, daring them to do it. Hit me again. Fuck you. How about hit me, and when you try to, I duck and knock you out because you were stupid enough to think I was going to stand here and let you hit me. So anyway, that I don't know what traffic, if any, that brought to Rampage, but that sure didn't do Bryan Danielson any favors. I
did not like that match at all, and I was prepared to. I wanted to like that match. And it was just nonstop trading blows, and it's boring. I'm sorry. It's fucking... Maybe if you're in the room, it's exciting, but it was boring to me.
Even if it's exciting for you to see two people in person that you've never seen in person before, and you're there in the arena, and oh, golly... Why is it exciting when the shit doesn't look good? Why is it exciting when the shit's obviously phony? I don't. So anyway,